Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Marine X back at it again. Let's talk about something that's flying underneath the radar during this government shutdown. As Congress is not working this weekend, I guess they're going to meet tomorrow on Monday. I'm recording this on a Sunday. But the crazy thing is that one thing that we're not really talking about too much is the fact that furloughed employees at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, they're not working. Okay, a lot of employees in the federal government are working without pay, such as TSA agents, air traffic controllers, our military, which we'll talk about that here in a second. But this is a serious threat that I think that we're not thinking about or talking about. And there's some things that you can do to try to protect yourself as we continue to not have some of these key players work. So you may ask yourself, what the heck is CISA? Well, if you use electricity, drinking water, drive on roads, pretty much anything that exists in the modern world, use infrastructure, my kiddos behind me playing, using the internet and kind of hanging out, CISA is silently working to protect you every single day. At least they were until the government shutdown that started last week. So as we enter into another week of the government shutdown, we have things that we don't even realize that CISA is in charge of doing ethical hacking against and protecting us from being attacked from. We got stuff, our power lines, our water treatment plants, hospitals, traffic control, data centers, all that type of stuff is just being looked at to see if there is a threat. Think about this. When does the wolf normally attack the chicken coop? Well, whenever the hell he wants. But the biggest thing is if it's a savvy wolf, a smart wolf, it's when people aren't watching. Normally the biggest attacks on the U.S. when it comes to cyber happen during the holiday periods, times when people are taking off work anyway. And now we have kind of like a holiday period that we put upon ourselves that we make us more susceptible from attack from adversaries such as Russia, China, North Korea, countries that don't want to play ball with us. We have to think about that all the time. So CISA is kind of the unsung hero of America's digital defensiveness and our defenses. And they are the federal agency responsible for protecting our nation's critical infrastructure from cyber and physical threats. Think about that for a second. Power grids, water systems, hospitals, financial institutions, transportation network. Frontline defense is CISA. They're making that stuff happen. Even when they have those large type of, they're protecting against those large type of institutions, organically that trickle down and protects people like us, because if the parent company, the parent entity is being protected, then we're kind of being protected. The Frontiers of the world, the Google Fibers of the world, the Chase Banks of the world, things that could affect us. If those things are being looked after and protected, then normally we oftentimes will find ourselves protected as well. But right now, a significant portion of the CISA workforce is furloughed, meaning that they were given a letter. They were told to go home. Don't use your phones. Don't use your computers. Only open your computer to see if you can now begin to work again. That means that key personnel are at the house. They're not working. They're not getting paid. And as our politicians bicker and try to figure stuff out, who are the bad guys? Who are the people that we should see as the villains? I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. But CISA's not taking a vacation. They are being forced to be at home. And now the real bad guys, the adversaries, not the politicians, but the people that want to attack us, they see this as another unprecedented opportunity, similar to the attacks that we got during our longest government shutdown in 35 days. We were constantly getting hit with cyber attacks. So let's break down why CISA furloughed their employees and why this is dangerously vulnerable. First off, one thing that CISA does, a big thing, is they do threat analysis gaps. So CISA is constantly monitoring the global cyber landscape, identifying emerging threats, vulnerabilities, and attack methodologies. They're attacking they're tracking state-sponsored hackers, organized crime groups, lone wolves, and they provide and they analyze intelligence. They provide that intelligence to other agencies, to partners, to industry, so they can prevent stuff like ransomware attacks. They can prevent hacking of information. They can create different warning systems. The biggest thing I think they do is threat analysis. And so with key analysts furloughed, like, who's watching the watchers? Who's watching the adversaries? Who's processing the incoming intelligence, because they're still getting intelligence. We still have people around the world gathering intelligence. Those people aren't being paid either, or some of them are, but they're still gathering intelligence. Who's analyzing that? A single missed indicator, a delayed path notification. It's like turning off the radar during a storm. You know that a storm is coming. They form all the time, and you just decide to turn the radar off. So now, instead of using traditional radar, we're kind of listening to pings and dings, and we just have one person that's trying to do that by himself. We don't know what's coming until it's too late. So threat analysis is one big thing that they do a lot of. The second thing that they do is incident response coordination, and the chaos of silence is here. They help with, when an incident occurs, they help coordinate the states with the federal government. They help coordinate private industry, such as banks, with the federal government, or with states, or with local governments. When a breach occurs, they help mitigate damage. They can also do counter hacking. They get systems back online. With them being furloughed, if we're attacked, how do systems quickly get back online? We got to bring people back in, force them to work without pay, but they're not there now, trying to prevent it from happening. Imagine a power outage across a large state. I live in Texas, and we're under ERCOT. But if ERCOT got attacked and CISA was not there to warn them or help them get stood back up, it can be a crazy, sophisticated cyber attack that Texas would have to handle on its own, because CISA's not there to give them federal assets that they would normally be using. So now each state is in their own silo, 50 states in their own silos, because of the lack of CISA oversight that's being held. So it can create widespread panic. It can create disruption of daily life, even danger to public safety. That is why one thing I want to talk to you guys about is today's video sponsor, which is Aura. I use them for my personal cybersecurity safety, monitor my name to see if I'm out there on the dark web. The kiddo that was just behind me, him plus the other 4 kids that I have, all their information is being monitored by Aura. Also, I have them for my VPN services to protect my home internet and prevent DDoS OS attacks. The thing about Aura is not only that they can provide that personal safety protection for me when it comes to cybersecurity and awareness, but also they can provide just something that gives me peace of mind and try to get data brokers off my jock. A lot of times I'm getting data broker calls all the time. Or will go out and scan my information, scan my social security number, look for my birthday. And if they see me on data broker list, they actively engage them to get me the heck up off of there. So cybersecurity protection, getting me off a data broker's list, and searching the dark web, all those things matter to me. That's why I use Aura for that type of stuff. Click the link down below, start your trial for Aura and see if that might be right for you. You hear the person saying, "Daddy, it's right for me, it's right for him," and everybody else as well. Shout out to Aura for sponsoring today's video. The third thing that CISA is critically important for is communicating with the public. So coordinating with states is important, and the infrastructure awareness is important, but information vacuum exists if everybody has to do it on their own. Imagine Montana has to do their own communication to their own citizens. They don't have the infrastructure or the know-how to do it. Every state having to do that on their own. Communicating with the public about threats is the biggest thing that CISA does without even realizing it. In an emergency, accurate, timely information is extremely vital. CISA provides trusted guidance to public, but bigger to businesses and government agencies on how to protect themselves from cyber threats. You know that most companies that get hit with a ransomware attack just pay the ransom, because the information is more important that they have access to than trying to fight against it. But to know that they're under threat comes from agencies such as CISA. So would you much rather know that your financial institution has that information to keep their data from being hacked and being put under ransomware? You would hate that. Even institutions that just not necessarily a financial institution, but store data that's incredibly mission critical. Imagine the Google Drives of the world, the Dropboxes of the world, not being able to access data that you have stored on their servers. We would be pretty pissed about that. So with CISA operating or reduced capacity, the flow of information slows down or even stops altogether. So without clear authoritative voice like CISA, the public is left in the dark. The crazy thing is I hope we're able to get past this and figure out a way to bump that up. You need to think about protecting yourself. I talked about today's video sponsor, but the biggest thing I don't think that we can really have when it comes to protecting ourselves is the military not being paid. it's an issue because they still have to work. In most recent shutdowns, the military got paid. Congress will oftentimes pass stuff like, pay the military act or whatever. But in these cases, the military is not being paid. And it can result in military members calling in sick or stuff like that. And that's something I'm concerned about as well. So just think about the different threats that we face overall as a nation. But comment down below, what do you think is a big threat right now during this shutdown? Is something that you're thinking about? I would love to know what your comments down below. First time stopping by, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you part of the battalion. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, thank you once again for watching me run my great. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.